They weren't supposed to be there. The Knights Templar were sworn to defend pilgrims, protect the Holy Land, and serve under the authority of Christ and his church. Yet in the spring of 1204, these warrior monks stood at the gates of Constantinople, swords drawn, banners raised, not to protect it, but to plunder it. The golden domes of the most sacred city in Christendom gleamed under the April sun. The city that had withstood centuries of sieges, by Persians, Arabs, and Slavs, was now on the verge of collapse at the hands of fellow Christians. What happened in those final days of the Fourth Crusade remains one of the darkest chapters in medieval history. But beneath the stories of violence and betrayal lies a deeper secret, a forbidden tale passed in whispers through the halls of forgotten monasteries and encoded in the records the Church never wanted anyone to read. A tale of treasure, of blood gold, and of a secret so valuable, the Templars were willing to risk damnation for it. This is the story of the Templars' forbidden gold, taken from the Sack of Byzantium. The Fourth Crusade was never meant to end in Constantinople. When Pope Innocent III called for a new expedition to reclaim Jerusalem, he envisioned a holy war of discipline, penance, and unity. But as always, the road to the Holy Land was paved with debt, greed, and betrayal. The Crusaders, mostly poor knights and mercenaries, couldn't afford to fund the voyage themselves. So they struck a deal with the most powerful naval force in the Mediterranean, Venice. The Venetians promised ships, provisions, and transport to Egypt, the strategic gateway to Jerusalem, in exchange for an enormous sum of money. But when the Crusaders couldn't pay the full amount, the Doge of Venice proposed an alternative, a detour that would turn the crusade into a conquest. They first sacked Zara, a Christian city under papal protection. The Pope was furious and excommunicated the entire army. But rather than repenting, the Crusaders marched onward, deeper into sin and ambition. Then came an offer from a desperate Byzantine prince, Alexios Angelos. He promised them riches beyond imagination and the unification of the Eastern and Western churches if they helped him reclaim the throne of Constantinople. It was a deal too good to refuse. The Templars, sworn to the Church, were cautious, but even they could not resist the pull of destiny, or perhaps something more tangible. In 1204, Constantinople fell. The city, once considered the Second Rome, was consumed by fire and chaos. Churches were looted, relics destroyed, nuns and priests slaughtered in the streets. The Latin soldiers unleashed a fury so great that even their commanders lost control. The Venetians made off with art and gold, transporting priceless Byzantine mosaics and statues back to St. Mark's Basilica. But the Templars, they were looking for something else. You see, the Templars were not ordinary knights. They were monks, yes, but also bankers, merchants, and secret keepers. By the time of the Fourth Crusade, they had established a complex network of safe houses, codes, and hidden vaults across Europe and the Levant. What they found in the burning halls of the Great Palace of Constantinople changed their order forever. There are letters, faded, fragmented, found centuries later in Templar commanderies across France and Cyprus. They speak cryptically of aureum non sacrum, gold not holy, of a trove buried beneath the Bucolian Palace, once the home of emperors. It wasn't just treasure, it was heresy. The gold was not minted in Constantinople. It bore strange symbols, pre-Christian, arcane, even Egyptian. Some believe it was part of a hoard hidden by the ancient pagans during the Christianization of the empire. Others claim it was the lost treasury of Emperor Julian the Apostate, who had tried to restore Rome's old gods. Whatever it was not meant to be seen, let alone stolen. The Templars took it anyway. They smuggled the gold out piece by piece, not through the ports, which were controlled by the Venetians, but through the tunnels, ancient aqueducts and catacombs that ran beneath the city. From there, it was shipped east, not west, into the Levant, where the Templars held vast strongholds in Acre, Sidon, and Tortosa. Some of it, legend says, went to a hidden commandery in Jerusalem, buried beneath what was once the Temple of Solomon. The irony was not lost on them. Gold from fallen Byzantium, hidden beneath the ruins of Israel's greatest temple. Pagan wealth beneath sacred ground. And with that gold, the Templars changed. Something shifted in the years after Constantinople. They grew richer, yes, richer than kings, but also more secretive, more arcane. They began experimenting with new codes, new rituals. Initiation rites became darker, more esoteric. Inquisition records from the 14th century accused them of worshipping a mysterious head, of spitting on the cross, of conducting ceremonies by torchlight in underground chambers. Of course, much of it was slander, or so the church claimed. But what if some of it was true? What if the gold they took from Byzantium was more than just metal? What if it was cursed? Or worse, imbued with knowledge the church had long tried to erase? There are stories, unverified but persistent, of Templars who vanished after the sack. Whole battalions lost, not in battle but in shadows. One letter speaks of a knight named Renaud de Chatillon, not the infamous one of Hattin, but a younger namesake, who claimed to have seen gods that were not of Christ carved into the walls of the palace vaults. Another speaks of a golden idol, shaped like a man but with the head of a lion and wings of fire. That idol, it said, was taken by the Templars and hidden in a vault beneath their commandery in Cyprus. A vault sealed with a curse written in Greek, Hebrew, and something older. And then nothing. No record of the idol appears again. No inventory, no report to the Pope. Only silence. Until 1307, the year the Templars fell. On Friday, October 13th, King Philip IV of France, deeply in debt to the Templars, ordered their arrest. Thousands were tortured, hundreds executed. Grand Master Jacques de Molay was burned at the stake. But the gold? The treasure? Gone. Philip searched every Templar vault in Paris, Poitiers, and Marseille. All empty. The fleet in La Rochelle had vanished, along with several high-ranking Templars. Some say they sailed to Scotland, others to Portugal. A few believe they returned east, back to Byzantium, because here's the twist most historians overlook. The Byzantines may have lost their city, but they didn't lose all their secrets. A handful of Orthodox monks, exiled from Constantinople after the sack, claimed to have hidden a second trove, one the Templars never found. One that contained not just gold, but scrolls, ancient texts, knowledge that could unravel the very foundation of the church. These scrolls, if they existed, were written in languages no longer spoken. Some scholars believe they were part of the lost library of Alexandria, rescued and hidden in Constantinople centuries earlier. And now, they're lost again. Or maybe not. In 1961, during restoration work beneath the Hagia Sophia, workers discovered a sealed chamber behind a false wall. Inside were remnants of Byzantine iconography, broken jars, and a single gold coin bearing a cross entwined with a serpent. The coin has since disappeared. Officially, it never existed, but photographs were taken, and when experts analyzed the symbols, they found something strange. The markings on the coin didn't match any known Byzantine or Roman mint. Instead, they bore resemblance to Phoenician and Sumerian motifs, civilizations long dead by the time of Christ. Was it part of the Templars' forbidden treasure? Was this the proof of a knowledge older than Christianity? Perhaps we'll never know. But if you ever find yourself in the old quarters of Jerusalem, or walking the cliffs of Limassol in Cyprus, or standing in the shadow of Rosslyn Chapel in Scotland, look closely. Look at the symbols, the carvings, the hidden messages left by men who vanished without a trace. Men who once walked the halls of Byzantium with gold in their satchels and secrets in their hearts. The Templars are gone, but their gold and their legacy may be closer than we think. And the truth, as always, lies buried, waiting for someone to dig too deep.